Welcome everyone to another episode of the Global Exclusive Podcast with me and my better half. I've done this joke before. Dream.
Yeah, you
Welcome.
have, but hi. It could be worse, so I'll take it.
Yeah, it could be much worse. Like holy shit, you should just know what
Uh,
like I had this
Let's not go
blackout
into
moment this
examples.
morning. No, like there was this blackout moment this morning. You were actually part of it because I was sitting in Discord and then Reda, she's like, "Yeah, it's Kaguya's VA." And I'm like, "VA? What the fuck is a VA?"
Hey, never mind.
I had some really creative suggestions to what VA meant before I actually realized I'm a dumb person. Anyway, some of you might have noticed, it's like some of the listeners' dream, they might have noticed there was no actual episode last week.
We just thought we'd be on brand for Jacked and being absent.
Yeah, Jack is really a piece of shit dad. Like, really. By the way, like, how much do you know about Final Fantasy X lore?
Um, a moderate amount, I would say. I watched a full playthrough. It's
Because,
quite enjoyable.
I never got, like, where actually Titus is from. Because Jack lives in the real world, right? Like
Well,
he's going off with Braska and Aaron to, summon the final Aeon, etc., right? Um, but Titus is from Xanarkand that was supposed to be like several hundred years ago. Is Jack from Xanarkand too? And he like walked through a portal, or what the fuck happened?
yeah, I think pretty much. I mean, this is obviously some spoilers for a 20-plus-year-old game, but
At least, yeah.
yeah, I'm pretty sure like he's from Xanarkand as well and was originally there with Titus, but he left the same way Titus did, but like 10 years earlier or whatever.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, okay.
and
Yeah,
that
so he's an
Xanarkand is
absent dad.
actually like a dream Xanarkand created by a bunch of faith or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I know that part. I know that part. Okay, all right. Anyway, that was Final Fantasy X, and we were just as absent as Titus's father, and we're continuing this trend, right? Of Final Fantasy X, I mean, not of
We've
being
come
absent.
we've come back for the less interesting units this week.
Yeah, well, I guess like depends on what you like, but yeah, quite an uneventful banner. So who do you want to do first?
Well, we can start with the envy base and the one people might care about a little bit, which is Ronso Warrior Kimahri.
Right. Which is an absolute trash tier unit and has literally nothing going for him.
Yeah, his kit is unfortunately a bit of a mess.
He's like
He
trying
is,
to do magic damage and physical, or rather magic and jumps, right?
yeah, his two halves are like physical water jump or magic light chaining, and but having them both on the same kit doesn't work that smoothly. Would have been a great opportunity for a Brave Shift unit, Alan, but guess that
Yeah,
was too much effort for them.
because like it really sounds like the brave shift mechanic, like a roll shift as we call
Yeah,
them. But no, okay, weird.
but yeah, I mean it's I guess it's always been his role as like a sort of weird all rounder that can do whatever, but yeah, it doesn't really stand out in any one
Yeah,
area.
and as I understand, the stats are far too low to actually be relevant in any area. So
Mhm.
this, like, as a jumper,
Yeah,
I think he's semi-competent, right?
yeah, the jump is the area that he performs the best. He's kind of the water side grade of like Kane and Ricard having that 230 base mod with his innate mod boosts.
Right.
But yeah, it is very little like in the way of flat attack and magic. He's just got the 500 on the EX3. It was TMR. I don't think his TMR or his STMR give him any, or his card.
But wait, but he's a Final Fantasy X unit, so he should get like all the other flat attacks, right? Like from Auron's Jug and from Yuna's STMR, right?
I'm not 100% sure if they apply to everyone from Final Fantasy X because I remember like the FF7 stuff doesn't apply to everyone. It's just like two or three specific units for each. But
Oh, okay. Well, many of them are just
yeah, he
full
might
full
not.
on like series because it just says FFBE units or
Yeah,
Final Fantasy 2 units. So I actually don't know, but it could. So yeah, he might be getting some stats, but really like it's lackluster. Again,
yeah,
he's
even
released
with
now doing the damage of like a unit released 3 months ago, basically. And
Mm,
yeah.
yeah,
So
and
why
like
don't you tell our listeners why people actually would want Kimahri?
yeah, the one thing that is there to care about is his STMR accessory, because similar to Ricard's gear, that gives a 50 boost for all jump attacks, which will then be multiplied by all the jump modifiers.
Right.
So that's another pretty sizable boost for Dragoons, especially Skye being able to double dip on it.
Yeah, I think Sinzar put it like this, that kind of Dragoon meta is slowly dying now again. It
Yeah,
was here
Dragoons
for a
have
very
been
brief time.
Dragoons would have like quite a strong place in the meta right now if it wasn't for 100% stacking amps, because they can't
Yeah,
really make use of them.
exactly. They fall back. They fall behind thanks to Sylvie, so it's all Sylvie's fault.
Yeah.
Um,
And I mean
well,
the same thing would have kind of happened with the JP ones we'll start seeing and have
yeah,
already started seeing on Leftia. But
maybe start seeing, because like I'm pretty sure we're not getting fucking Nicole and Sakura.
yeah, well we'd still get them on like X2 Una pretty soon and
Yeah,
stuff like
yeah,
that. Yeah, but yeah, stacking amps kind of kill jumpers because they, they can't have that one turn apply on the burst turn
yeah.
because they're in
But
the air.
thanks to Sky, yeah, but thanks to Sky, as you said, since she double dips, she actually still stays relevant,
Yeah, she kind
and
of
actually a fair bit more than relevant. Even she
and
can get pretty
yeah,
strong.
she competes like near the top, but like yeah, without the amp, it's still a lot of gear to kind of match that top tier, but not really beat it significantly.
Yeah, yeah.
But if we start
So
getting some like longer duration big amps, they can definitely see a jump again in the future. No pun
yeah,
intended.
we might get a cow jumper as well that might want all of this gear. That'd be a
Possible.
nice way for Gumi to round up the bag and give the whales a hand.
We'll see if their
Um,
code actually allows for morale jump.
oh, true. That would be like a new type of attack for sure.
Mm,
I guess. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, so it's a decent accessory in its own. Nothing special. I think it's like
and
80 attack and 50 something magic, but it's the big amp or the modifier boost to jump attacks that
yeah,
you're after.
yeah.
So this is
So it's
definitely a
obviously
unit I think most people won't be sad pulling off banner, right?
they won't be sad pulling their first off banner.
Right, but the second
Um,
one might feel a bit, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Because
because it
like
doesn't
there's
stack.
literally no reason to upgrade Kimahri to any EX level at all, unless you're like Sinzar, you're doing a Smurf account, or you're a new player and he's your only DPS. But even in that case, like you're gonna get a better DPS like next
Yeah,
pull.
but yeah, and like his self buffs and stuff and imperils are all like very pretty poor levels. Just basic
Yeah,
30% amp,
I mean you can tell
120
he was
unit
built.
imperil.
You can tell he was built just as a STMR container.
Yeah, yeah. Um, this is a throwaway kit from Alum.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So what else do we have on banner?
We've got an NVA for Yunalaska, whose one thing is probably going to be another bonus unit for this Vision World.
Yeah, but she has the biggest modifier I've ever
Yeah,
seen.
of elementless magic.
Evoke magic. Well,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's
I
old style evoke as well, so that's 50% magic, 50% spirit.
oh God, no. Oh, I did not
Yeah,
know that. That's horrible.
yeah.
Oh God. I was, I was reminiscing with Sinzar during the news day. I don't know if you caught that, but like I was saying, we were talking about this time where there was an era in this game where elementalist magic actually mattered, or it had a niche. Like there was a point
There
to
was
elementalist magic.
there was a time where like finishing with Garnet evoking Bahamut was actually good.
Yeah, that too. But we're no longer there because, you know, the reason why Yunalaska stays in the trash bin, unfortunately, is because what Gumi or Alim decided to do was to put basically non elemental damage resistance on every boss.
Yeah, everything that's hard. Like if you're against something with no elementless resistance, then she is kind of okay, but like still pretty lacking in the stats to make the high mod work.
Yeah,
Especially because you're still working with like 0% imperil and stuff. But yeah, anything that actually has a decent amount of elementless damage resist, which is very common in hard content now,
yeah.
she's not going to do shit, and there's
I mean, just look at
nothing that
DV.
can
Like
improve
DV,
that.
yeah, and DV by default has like 80%, right? That's what you see in
Yeah, I think
DV.
so. And like the
Cow is
trials,
probably the
like
same.
the one we'll get to later, has 95%.
Yeah. So, uh, and I should mention this. I'm just going to repeat this in case somebody missed the news day. But Sensar did say we are getting trials in the future, or DV stages actually, I think, that will have a non-elemental weakness, meaning they will actually be better without an element. So
She
on
might
those
get like
stages, you know,
one or two fights
yeah,
that
you
she
might
works
actually put
in.
her. Although again, like the point is moot because you'll still cap those fights with your regular damage dealers. You just are
Yeah,
not going to imbue them. That's basically it. Anyway,
sure,
that's
she's
the
pretty bad.
nice mention. She's pretty
There-
bad, unfortunately.
There's also like a very obvious case of LM copy paste where she has a cooldown that gives the classic 30% dark amp for her 5 and 7-star dark chaining skills that got like no mod boost. So they still
Yeah,
have like 35 mod.
that's gonna do a ton of damage.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I kind of I understand that MBAs are weak and they're not meta always and so on, but I like the level of NVAs when we're talking about Squall and Titus, you know,
Yeah, that
where
is like usable budget options.
yeah, for new players, like I don't care if veterans will never use this unit, that's perfectly fine, but I don't like the fact that she's actually really bad. Like as a new player, there's not much in her kit that you would
A
ever
bit
want to look at.
disappointing. It's sort of like why bother at that point?
Yeah, I mean even fucking Seymour has at least like Bar Darkja and
Yeah, and like
preemptive Bar Darkja.
yeah, and is just like even a bad magic tank is still useful if you don't have any better ones.
Yeah. Anyway, let's not dwell on it, but not a great unit.
No.
Um,
Her
and then
STMR is still nice for any evokers.
sorry.
We have her STMR is still nice for evokers, of which we
It
have
is. It is. It is.
one who is
The
relevant.
saving grace. And you do get one like of her. We might even get her STMR Moogles in the raid box. I haven't actually checked, but it's
Yeah,
probably.
I'm not sure.
Uh, so you know, again, it's best in slot. Always best in slot for any evokers. And Yuna right now is a pretty strong evoker. So uh, you know,
Yep.
it's free.
You can
Get it.
steal her namesake's equipment.
Yes. And what is there any? Oh yes, yes. Poppy NBA, right?
Yeah, that's an interesting one that they put on this banner instead of an FFBE banner for some reason, but she's
Yeah.
here too.
Like they had
Because
a unit and they're like, what should we do with her? And they sure put her on a banner. I don't care. So weird.
yeah, I think her JP banner was like one of the ones that we're not gonna get either like a seasonal one, or I think it might have actually been JP's version of Ling and Louise that she came along with.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that's why she had to be adopted by another banner.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like it would be unheard that they skip a unit though. And
No, I guess
yeah,
not.
and it's not like Poppy has something unique that they would need to give the player base.
Not especially. I mean, technically she kind of does, but it's not very good.
Okay.
Yeah, so like her base form didn't really get much of anything. She got an EX3 cooldown that does some half decent stats and LP damage buff, but not till turn 4, and a small mod boost for some the gas spells of her 3 elements, but
Okay.
very irrelevant.
Right.
And then the shift form is like where the stuff that actually kind of matters is, and that's her single target 60% amp cooldowns, which is
Right.
like,
For three elements, right?
yeah, wind, water, and light. But yeah, she is like, they are 2-turn duration and supposedly 3-turn cooldown, but effectively it's 6 because her shift is only 2-turn duration with a 4-turn cooldown. So
Right.
she
Right.
can't stay in her shift form very long.
And can she multicast these?
Nope, no multicast and shift.
Right. And again, they are also CDs, so like you're not gonna
Yeah,
be
you
putting them
only
on
use them
multiple
once.
units. So it's a very niche use.
Yeah,
Like you really have to stretch it to see when you're gonna bring her. But
mm,
60% is strong, like
yeah.
for
And
sure.
the shift LB, which you'll probably use the other of the 2 shift turns of, has like again AoE stats in LB, slightly lower than the cooldown, and a
Right.
35% AoE amp for all the elements.
Yeah. I feel I need to repeat Cinzar's point, which I think makes sense, is that the only time you might actually want to bring her is if you're doing one of these single DPS unit
Yeah,
strats, like Tyvus, or more importantly, Balthier, who's
yeah,
actually
Balthier would be the
imbuable.
main one.
So
Or
you're bringing kind of
and
Fran, you're
withdrawing.
bringing her, and then you're bringing Balthier. And then you're actually giving
Just
Balthier a 60% amp, which is
yeah.
hard to do otherwise.
Mhm. But yeah, it's just like very difficult for this to have a situation where it's worth it, and she's
Yeah,
very underwhelming compared to even like the standard JP 45% ampers of the
right.
MVAs. So it's a bit of a rough spot for her.
Yeah, I mean, like better unit than Yunalaska, I'm gonna say.
Yeah,
Probably gonna
yeah,
come much
as a
more in
support.
handy, especially to new players.
Mhm. Yeah. And I mean, she's still got all her old, like, 5 and 6 star kit, which is, like, has some useful stuff, but all of the numbers are just a bit low on the buffs.
Hmm.
Like 45% mitigations and 75% killers and stuff.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah. So, yeah, another one that's just not great overall, but may
Yeah,
have a
I
little
mean,
bit of niche.
we are kind of used to NVAs not being amazing, but yeah,
Yeah.
at least this one is probably gonna be usable for new players.
Yeah. It's a stretch, though, but
It is. It is. I really feel it is. So we did get a ton of new content though. Like so Vision World is still
a
running,
decent amount.
and if you haven't it's running for at least another week, right?
Yeah, I think it is another week.
So like get your farming in. I actually haven't farmed yet. I capped it on day one and haven't touched it since. So I
Yeah.
really need to go back and start
I
farming it so I
I've been
get the
using
items.
natural energy regen on it, but haven't like fully done it. But I think I'm pretty close to done anyway because you can get a lot of bonus for this one.
Yeah, yeah.
You're like
And they're
600
fairly
currency per Yunalaska fight.
yeah, and it's an easy vision world, so you can just easily break it with. It's easy to kill, like a bit harder to cap, but it's also pretty easy to cap.
Yeah, yeah.
So
The
yeah,
veterans, this one's not too hard to cap.
that was just my reminder to listeners. Don't forget that you actually do need to farm some items. And then for this week, we're getting a standard raid, so nothing strange there. But we're also getting a ton of extra content, right? Or not
Yeah,
extra
there's a few
content.
like bonus stages.
Yeah. I guess like the first one that's worthy mentioning is you're getting 1 out of 10 NV summon tickets. So basically a free random NV. So it's going to be a Rain or maybe an Axe Star if you're lucky. It's
Yeah,
from
this is
the Spring of. Go ahead.
yeah. I was gonna say this is from Spring of Memories, and it's
Hmm.
very similar to the Defender one we got a couple weeks ago, where it's like
Just
series
like two
lock
different elements, right?
gift shards. Yeah, light and dark for this one.
Right, right.
So
Again,
mostly
like Yuna
Yuna's
destroys
evoke.
it if you have a Yuna.
Well, we got it free, so everyone has a Yuna.
I guess, yeah, and I guess she doesn't really get that much power on her EX levels, so we got her to what? Like everyone got her to EX2 maybe even, or
Well, we do get it to EX2, but from the shards that this fight gives
ah,
is the last
okay,
50. And I knew we got up to EX2 free, and Sinzar told me it was only EX1 in JP, and I was like, no, that's not right. And I've been validated by these 50 shards, last 50 shards appearing, because I knew they were
nice,
there
nice.
somewhere. It's
But
also
yeah,
the last 50
Yuna's
I need for EX3, which is nice.
yeah, nice, nice, nice. But yeah, Yuna's gonna kick the ass here. Like if you have Yuna, but I guess like even actual ace player Titus, right? No, not ace player. What is his name? The
Um,
old Titus.
Star player Titus.
Star player Titus. Yeah,
You'll
because
go for
ace
it.
player Titus is new Guardians Titus's shift, right?
Maybe
Super confusing.
I don't remember what his shift form's called, but
Too many
yeah,
Tituses.
he'll work. Riku can imbue light, so that'll let the physicals do it. And even
Yeah,
the off elements are only 75 resist, while the weaks are minus 200. So
yeah.
even if you have to mix element on like your new Titus object, they'll still be strong.
And it's a super generous turn limit as well, like 10.
Yeah, 10
Um,
hits for a pearl. So
yeah. So it's
shouldn't be
good.
too
Nice
hard.
random 10 ticket. Yeah, and also I did it. I took no damage. Like I think I had a Braska that was evade provoking, so maybe that's why. But like
Yeah.
bosses seems to be fairly harmless.
Mm. I think by the looks of it, he does like just single target magic attacks that then like do at big in peril for the next element that it's about to use, and it
Yeah,
just sort of
and you kind of control which element he's gonna use by hitting him with the element.
mm.
Um,
They can also all
so
be necessited by the looks of it, so that would kind of trivialize it if you're
yeah,
somehow having trouble otherwise.
yeah. Nah, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. So what more do we have? There is also another big reward stage, right?
Yeah, the lingering dissident has some Yunalaska shards and stuff in the leading up 5 stages, and then its EXT stage is sort of a standard mystery crystal plus 3k lapis deal.
Right. And how tough is this? Like, do you know?
Um,
Or I asked you before. You haven't done it, right?
I haven't done it. I haven't had a chance to open the game yet, but
Yeah.
it has a fair bit more health than the other ones by the looks of it.
Right. And you want
So
to
yeah,
do it as a party of four. It's a machina though, and seems to be weak to lightning, water, and dark. The other resistances are fairly high. They're 135. The weak ones are minus 50. So you definitely want to be hitting up those. So since lightning is there, well, you know what to do.
yeah. I don't think this one's series locked, so that'll be
Just
pretty
like
easy.
bring Sylvie, destroy the shit out of it. Or you can also bring Olive. If like, I don't
Yeah,
know. It has 5.5 billion HP. So I can't see its stats. So I don't know how, but it can't be
it
spirit or
shouldn't be
defense
too hard.
broken.
It shouldn't be too hard.
No, no,
Most of
shouldn't be
these
too hard.
DX stages are not.
No. So yeah, but that's a nice cool 3k lapis that you can use to pull Kimahri with if you want to, or don't. Save it for a banner
Save
that
that
actually matters.
actually good things.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we do have Cow around the corner, and Cow
Mm,
brings a new GLEX unit that
yeah,
may or
that's
may
true.
not be fucking broken.
Quite possible.
I mean, it's quite fucking possible. Like, it could be another Chow, and you'll be doing like I am, regretting your life decision to never pull on Chow every fucking day since everyone is using Chow for fucking
Yeah.
everything.
And there was one more FF10 event that has something very strange going on. It's some sort of exploration? What is
Yeah, it's like
this?
a new game
Have we,
mode we have never seen before in this game, or at least for many years. So I'm gonna say I actually enjoyed this. I played through the exploration. I enjoyed it. Um, I was saying like that. This is a nice way to do a nostalgic trip back to a game you liked by throwing in one of these explorations for a series game.
yeah,
So I hope this come more of this because I enjoyed it.
we'll see. Granted, these events were like JP's 6.5 anniversary, so
Ah,
this is a special present for them.
okay. So maybe a one time off or some weird thing. Okay,
But yeah,
that's a shame.
still, it's interesting to see it like be revived briefly.
Yeah. And there are two difficulties. We should mention that there's an easy difficulty and a hard difficulty. And I think like there's yeah, I don't know what the difference honestly is in the actual difficulty. I guess the bosses at the end are a bit more difficult.
Get more stats. But as far as I remember these events working, like if you open the chests on easy, they'll already be open on hard and whatnot.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
only have to do them
And the,
once.
the and the mobs are actually not free. So you will actually have to hit them to defeat them. There's flans and they are only susceptible to magic, or at least take a lot more damage from magic sources. And then there is these birds that I forgot what their name is. Sahagin, yeah, whatever. Um, and they take physical damage, and you actually have to use proper damage, like proper damage, just to give you a idea. To kill the flans, my Yuna with 10k spirit had to use two of her evoke abilities. So
Just bring like Chizuru and Olive and fire off their LBs every first turn.
yeah, I did like a full FFX team, but I should have probably just brought Chizuru, yes, and just destroyed everything on the map. Because this is not series locked, right?
I don't think so now.
No, no. Yeah, it's a small puzzle. If you've played Final Fantasy X, you'll be able to figure out the puzzle easily. If you haven't, then you're gonna figure out the puzzle easily. There's nothing really to care about. Just, go in, step on things until stuff activates, get treasure chests. Is it actually, but is it even any good, the stuff we're getting? We're getting like a lucid ring, right? And
I don't think they,
is that good?
I don't actually remember the stats on it at all. I can quickly check the news.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, the
no,
wiki doesn't have it, unfortunately.
no, it's like a 40 spirit accessory with like a couple ailment immunities and 25% evoke damage.
Yeah,
And
so
the
nothing to.
rematch ball is like a budget version of Walker's World Champion, 170 attack, two-handed throwing. It does have
Yeah,
Machine Killer on it, which might occasionally be handy, but it's not amazing.
I mean, I would collect these just for the collection's sake,
Yeah, yeah,
basically.
still might as well pick them up, but they're not amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we did get some really tricky content though, right? This
Yeah,
week.
that's sort of the centerpiece of this week's content is the next of our 12 types trials against our plant, Rafflesia.
Rafflesia. Oh, okay.
Mm. And this one was a bit notorious in JP because this is the start of the very high resistance to everything phase.
Right, right.
And
Or
this was,
rather, if you don't have the latest Imperialer, fuck you phase.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. And
So,
there,
so the way it works is that they have so high resistances that you really need the 165 Imperial to even do damage,
mm,
basically.
yeah,
So,
because they,
did they get nerfed on GL? I heard that they got nerfed a bit on GL.
yes, a little bit. Because these have 265 resists to all of their like off elements that you will not be using, and on JP this one had 230 resist to its correct elements, wind and earth, and that has
Meaning
been
you would
lowered.
need an Imperial of 130, well, higher than 130 to actually do damage.
Yeah, at least 135 to start doing damage, but you'd really need a lot more than that to actually
Yeah,
do a decent amount. That has been lowered by 20% down to 210 for GL, and that
right.
that that brings it in line with most of the ones released after, where they have between 190 and 210 for their correct elements. So
Which is
this,
nice. Like, it makes it
yeah,
easier to bring a bit weaker Imperil and still do decent damage. So you can actually bring a 130 and throw in a Mog field, and you're
yeah,
still good.
the 230 was a bit much,
Yeah. I
but
mean,
and
that
and
basically
like
forces you
JP
to use Emperor.
recognized that.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, like, well, in JP, like Emperor plus Mog was basically mandatory.
yeah.
On GL, you can kind of get away with one or the other, but like if you have one, then adding the other on top is still like a 50% damage boost.
Exactly.
So that's still very much like a good team comp to bring, but it means that, say, three strong damage dealers with either Emperor or Mog is about even with two strong damage dealers with both Emperor and Mog.
Okay, so it's kind of up to your roster on what is gonna work the best and how you
Mm,
can fit all the things
yeah,
you need to fit as well.
yeah.
Because
I think
you need death resistance for everyone, and you also need charm resistance for everyone, right?
mm. Death Resist, you can kind of play the numbs game a bit because it's only a 10% chance that it gets used each turn, but it certainly is nicer. And then yeah,
Yeah,
you need AoE, ailment, and charm resist, and all of the damage incoming is magic. It's either water or elementless, so you'll want a fairly bulky magic tank. And
and you want like 600 post buff Well, you
mm,
don't have to have 600, but the closer you have, the better.
yeah. Well, there's a minus 600 AoE Imperil, which occurs before damage. But one thing is that you can have just 100% resist on your tank and re-raise because that Imperil plus damage is always the last action of a turn.
Oh,
But then you instead need someone else provoking, so the 600% single target Imperil will go on them instead, and they
right,
might
right,
need
okay,
high water resist because there's a single target damage over time of water damage, and that might kill them if they're not bulked up because that goes
right.
through cover.
Yeah, so like the budget option is a bit trickier here because it does require some gear, especially within turn count and the tank as well. I found it quite easy to gear a tank for 600% water, which is like it wasn't actually that surprising because we actually have a lot of good materia with high water resist on
Yeah,
it.
I think water is one of the easiest elements to get resists for.
Yeah, yeah. So it was actually surprisingly easy. I had an EX2 Ash with like above 7K spirit and 600% water resist. So
Yeah,
that's probably
and
going to be
I
good
think
enough to survive.
yeah, that'll probably be good. Some tanks might have difficulty getting enough bulk for the elementless stuff, without like with getting the 600%, and that's where offloading some duty to the provoker helps.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, so there's two options for tanking it really, but it's good. And
And
yeah, you want ailment and charm resist on everyone.
so this is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. I think it's worthy mentioning that Chizuru is definitely the MVP of this fight because
Yeah,
she already
Chizuru.
has the plant killers and
Mm,
is just overall
yeah,
badass.
yeah, she works great as a damage dealer and support. Olive can also be a very good damage dealer, especially I think like I'm gonna run one Chizuru plus Olive because then
Yeah,
Chiz can win support her, plant killer her, and tag chain for her while she caps, and she can take advantage of Emperor's Spirit Break being higher than his defense break, but then
right.
also like Spirit Breaking for herself on her SLB. So
And
she
very
should
nice.
also be very good. Esther's a bit iffy with the like the want to use Imperil fields, but if you're dropping
Yeah.
Mog, she can definitely be viable.
Yeah, exactly. The problem is dropping Mog does half your or so adding Mog increases your damage by 50%. So
Yeah,
like
it's going
you
from
definitely
hitting at 50% resist to 25.
yeah. So
So
you definitely you need to compensate for it. But it should work again. Like if you have
yeah, it's
Emperor, it should
possible.
work. If you don't have Emperor, it might be tricky.
Yeah, and I mean that this is still very much like even with Global's higher power and the slight nerf, it's still a pretty hard trial to get all missions in, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, well, you can always, come back and do them again
Yeah, yeah,
because there's a 5 unit mission, right? You don't have to do that and the turn mission at once, right? You can do
yeah.
six
Yeah,
units
the main
to do
part
the
is
turn
if you're
mission and
trying to
so on.
get both of those at once. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's
But
not
that's kind
necessary.
of the difficulty level you get to set for yourself, right? I'm definitely doing a try where I'm going to try to do all missions at once. But if I fail, I'm going to go in several times.
Yeah, will be similar. I think because of like the global nerf, I do kind of wish that that increased its bulk stats in compensation.
Right.
To be honest, like to
So you think it
just so
might
it.
be a bit too easy?
No, I don't think it's too easy, but I just being directly weaker than it was in JP just feels kind of bad.
Yeah. Yeah. No, for sure. Well, but they put it in a better place that's more enjoyable, right? That's
Yeah,
what they
yeah,
did. They made it so that
I like the lowered resists, but because that increases team flexibility, but I don't want the overall difficulty reduced. So raw stats would be a good way to compensate for that.
no, no, good point, good
And
point.
yeah,
I do hear that. Although it's again, it's still a tricky trial.
yeah,
Even
yeah.
for
It's
veterans, you need a lot
it's
of like
only a small
specialized
nerf.
gear. Like if you want to gear for like sure, if you have like 5 Tifas lying around, then charm resist becomes easy. But if you don't, that becomes trickier.
Yeah, you can
So
active
there's a
buff
lot of
for
these
it
things.
potentially, but
Yeah, if you have the
yeah,
turn economy, sure.
yeah. Like and one like people will be using Chow for a magic tank pretty commonly because there's also quite a bit of AoE MP drain, and he can sort that out. But it's worth noting that his ailment resist buffs don't include stop and charm.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah,
that's one of the big things. There is a big MP drain, so if you don't have Chow, you're gonna have to deal with that. You're gonna have to figure out a way to get your MP back up. There are a couple of units that can give you back a percentage of your MP. Those are the ones to look for. There's Folka, although why the fuck would you bring Folka? But you're gonna have to deal with that. So I'm one of those. I'm in that boat. I don't have Chow, so I'm gonna have to figure out how to keep my MP high.
and like currently you pretty much have to use the win comps because Emperor and stuff, or at least it's much better to. But fairly soon, Earth should become equally viable and possibly even a bit more accessible because Tulian should get his story accessory very soon, which gives him a 160 Earth Imperil and an 89 defense break. and then you can potentially run the same sort of team but with Earth instead of Wind, and
Right.
also
So
then
then you're
potentially
gonna do
bring
Sylvie
Sylvie
and Tulian.
100% amps
Yeah.
and better physical break for your
Who
physical
would do an
damage
Earth
dealers.
field?
The only one is Seacard, but that's
Oh
not
shit.
great because he has
Yeah.
even lower uptime on his than Mog's because it's shift only.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's a bit rough, but you might want to do it with just the 160 Imperil and then
I
Sylvie's
mean,
amps.
you are getting 100% amp on top of that, so that
Yeah,
might help out a bit at least.
and I think the 20% resistance nerf does make that a lot more viable to ignore the field and just use Julian Sylvie tank damage dealers,
Yeah. Sounds
and
like
then
a
she
pretty cool
covers
comp, actually.
and then she covers your charm resist and MP healing and stuff as well. So
Nice.
that'll
Nice.
be a good option very soon, probably in like a couple weeks.
That sounds cool. I feel like Tulian is a cool unit. I like him in the story. I'd like to use him a bit more. I almost have him at EX3 as well, so
Yeah, I think I'm like halfway to EX3 from 2 as well.
yeah, nice.
So that'll be nice and a bit more palatable than my EX1 Emperor.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. I get that. I'm
So,
personally cursed or blessed or whatever you want to say with an EX2 Emperor, so I can do the fight proper.
yeah, unlike the Emperor, EX level also won't actually matter with Tulian because it's not like on his SLB anymore, it's just a cooldown. And I think it
Right.
has like 5 out of 6 turn uptime and available from turn 1. So that'll be very nice.
That's very nice, actually. Tulian becomes pretty powerful then with a big
Yeah,
imperil,
yeah, he's quite good.
uh, and has decent personal, or at least he can contribute with
Yeah,
damage as well.
he contributes about as much as the other 160 Imperils do, which is
Yeah, I
not a
guess.
lot.
Or maybe even less, actually. I think like Emperor at least has 230x or something on his LB.
Pretty sure that's what
Maybe it's the
Julian has
same.
as well.
Yeah, okay. All right.
Anyway,
Yeah, so
pretty
do
hard
we have
trial.
anything else? Yeah, yeah,
No, I
yeah.
don't think so. Well,
I,
that's
I, I
pretty
wish
much
everyone
me.
good luck. There's always the Sinzar threads, and I'm sure Sinzar already has a couple of videos up, so if
Mm,
you need the help. But
yeah,
don't beat yourself up over this. This is gonna be a difficult trial. As Dream said, you can come back later when you have some of the better units, like when Tulian drops, or when you just get the better DPS and power creep comes around.
mm,
Because again, it's since it's the 12 type stake down, the reward is just killer material. So
yeah.
it's
Killers
not
for
gonna be
the
something.
next one,
Yeah.
which is Beast.
So yeah, good luck everyone.
Cool. Yeah, have fun.
And thanks for chilling, Dream. See you
All
next
good.
week.
See ya.